Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Alright, and now here I am with another review of a classic monster movie. Now here I am with a review for 1931's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So, I guess this was a pretty good movie, I guess. I mean, I really don't think that this really is like one of the better of these classic monster movies, but I guess it is still like good. And like I said, this is for the 1931 version of the the 1931 movie of this story. Yeah, there have been like some other editions of this story made in film, but yeah, that's why I specified this as being the 1931 version. Because, yeah, there have been, like, multiple versions of the story made in film. But, yeah, I guess that this one is like, pretty good. I really haven't seen, really, like, this is really the only movie version of this story that I have seen. Yeah, I mean, of course, like, this film is based on the book by Robert Louis Stevenson. And I have read part of the book, but it's been a long time since I have, so yeah, I can't really say like how much this really does follow the original book, but yeah, as a movie, I think it's pretty good. Yeah, I'm sure that just about all of you, just like Frankenstein, pretty much just about all of you know this story. Yeah, it's about a scientist that ends up like creating a potion, and like it ends up like just transforming him into basically an evil, deranged, and psychopath, really. And yeah, it's of course like Dr. Jekyll makes the potion, Dr. Henry Jekyll, and it transforms him into just the evil Edward Hyde. And yeah, he just basically like just swapping back and forth throughout the story. Yeah, yeah, this is like another story, just like Frankenstein. This was another story that really did inspire Stan Lee to write the Hulk. Yeah, because yeah, both like Frankenstein and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde really are like stories about like a monster, and especially like this one, it's like a normal human like transforming into a monster, just basically like Bruce Banner transforms into the Hulk. So yeah, I guess like this one is like a little more or like inspiring to Stan Lee as far as like the switching back and forth goes. Yeah. Yeah, and this movie, I think it is like a good movie. Yeah, I mean, the design for Mr. Hyde, I think, is like a good design, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's probably not really looked at as the best today. I think, like, if a version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was done today, I think they could make Mr. Hyde look like a lot more intimidating and just, yeah, basically like just a real, like, monstrous creature if a version was done today. And yeah, and I think it's kind of clever. Like in this film, like as the more that we see Mr. Hyde as this film goes, like each time like Dr. Jekyll transforms into Mr. Hyde, Hyde actually like looks more menacing and just deranged each time we see him transform. So yeah, I mean, yeah, because at first it's just kind of like he just like has like sharp teeth and stuff, and just like he's really not that deranged. But yeah, as this film moves on, like he just looks like more and more deranged each time Dr. Jekyll transforms, and yeah, just basically just looking like a monster, really. And yeah, this film is like pretty good. I mean, I'm not really too fond of like any of like the relationship between like Jekyll and his fiancee Muriel, because like really the relationship really doesn't go anywhere because yeah, Muriel's father is just like really like making up decision for her on when to marry Dr. Jekyll, and also like he also is kind of like forbidding her from ever seeing him anymore and just like not allowing her to marry him, which does not make sense. I mean, really, I mean, she's a grown woman. She's able to make that decision for herself. I mean, she doesn't need her father making that decision for her. I mean, this isn't like how it was back in the day. Hey, like in really old type of tales, like yeah, the ones that were really set like long ago, when like the father would like choose who their daughter would marry and stuff. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that just really just I really don't like that about this, how her father really is speaking up for her and stuff. Yeah, and in this film also, like, Mr. Hyde, he like ends up like terrorizing another woman and named Ivy Pearson, and yeah, just throughout this film, like he is like terrorizing her, and yeah, yeah, he's basically just like really like just really like doing a bunch of stuff to really like kind of harass her to really, and yeah, I guess like the scenes with that are probably one of the better thing parts, some of the better parts of this film, because I mean, just yeah, Mr. Hyde, he just like really is just like really evil, and yeah, he's basically just making like a bunch of threats to her, and really just like he's like really violent and really just trying to really control her actions and just really torture her like psychologically. And yeah, he basically just is like doing a bunch of stuff to her throughout this film. And yeah, he eventually like ends up killing her later on. So, yeah, so yeah, those scenes are really done pretty well. I mean, yeah, of course, like in real life, that's not right, right? But yeah, this is just a movie, and I think that the scenes with like Mr. Hyde terrorizing Ivy are done pretty well. Yeah, yeah, and of course, like nobody does know about like Dr. Jekyll really and Mr. Hyde are one and the same. It doesn't like that's not really found out until like at first like he shows like Mr. Hyde ends up like showing his Dr. Lanyon his in the secret, and that he's Mr. Hyde, and then it eventually shows like at the end of this film, uh, like it's then revealed to everyone that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are like one and the same. It actually does. It was like Lanyon and just like shows like everyone, and like Dr. Jekyll actually transforming into Mr. Hyde at the end of this film. And yeah, and I feel that the ending for this film really just is like really abrupt once again. Just like this movie ends with just like Mr. Hyde dying, and he just like ends up like getting shot one time, and then it just shows like him transforming back into Dr. Jekyll when he dies, and yeah, of course, like that ends up like showing that Dr. Jekyll is also dead, and then that's just how it ends. Like it just ends like right with the death like that. I mean, that really does seem to be like the major weakness of these monster films. So like while the films like maybe are like really good, just the endings for them really aren't done really that well, and they just become like so abrupt. I mean, it happened in Dracula. It really like was pretty abrupt in Frankenstein, and yeah, it's abrupt here again. Like just why do these films just end this way? They just end like just monster dies and then boom, that's it. Like there's no really like any after scene or anything or what really shows what the aftermath really is. I mean, we got a little bit of it in Frankenstein, but yeah, it's just like a really brief scene and boom, it ends. I mean, why can't these films really do like have stronger endings that really aren't so abrupt and they just don't end all of a sudden like these ones do. Just like monster dies and boom, that's it. So yeah, that really seems to be the weakness that these films have. But I mean, yeah, the rest of the film overall, I think it is pretty good. But like, yeah, like I said, not really one of the better one of these monster films, but I do think it is a pretty good film. I would give it probably, I don't know, 3.25 stars out of 4, I guess. Uh, yes, so, yeah, it's a real, yeah, I guess, like, the best way I can sum up this film, really, yeah, I mean, yeah, it has Frederick March as both Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and, yeah, it is, like, a pretty good way to, like, make it seem like it really is, like, two different people in the role, like, it's kind of like a Lon Chaney style thing, where it really doesn't look like the same person, like, when he's put in, like, the wardrobe for Mr. Hyde and like with the hair and the makeup and stuff, it actually is done really well. Like it's not really like blatantly obvious that this isn't the like this is the still the same person. So yeah, it really is done real well. And I guess like the other rest of the cast in this film, they are like decent too. Yeah, but yeah, I think Frederick March as Jekyll and Hyde is really the highlight of this film. So yeah, so let me just like talk a little bit about the plot of this film. Yeah, I'm probably just gonna zoom through it because I mean there's really not much to say. I pretty much have already covered everything major about this film. So yeah. So yeah, of course like in this film like Dr. Henry Jekyll is like he's engaged with his fiance Muriel, and like of course like her father is the bride brigadier general, and then like Dr. Jekyll just tells Muriel's father, Sir Danvers, that he wants like his permission to like push up the date for their wedding because apparently like he is decided that they'd be married 8 months after this, and he's just trying to wants Sir Danvers to just try to push up the date for their wedding, but yeah, he ended up like refusing. Yeah, yeah, like Sir Danvers really doesn't like really have the best relationship with Dr. Jekyll. Like he really doesn't like him very much here. And then yeah, later on, like at Dr. Jekyll's home, like he saw like Ivy Pearson attacked outside her boarding house, and then Jekyll like came to her aid and just drove the guy away. And then he ended up just then bringing Ivy up to her home, and he attended to her. And yeah, then like it showed Ivy did kind of like have a thing for Dr. Jekyll. Oh, and then like she was like kind of like flirting with him and stuff, but then like he ended up like fighting off his temptations for her, and eventually ended up leaving with Lane, Lanyon, Dr. Lanyon, yeah. And eventually, like, it showed that Muriel and her father ended up leaving in London for a few months, yeah. And then, yeah, yeah, and as that was going on, then, like, it then just showed then Dr. Jekyll then just starting to just create a type of potion that really would like release the evil side of himself, and then once he drank it like he was like starting to have some flashbacks and stuff, and just like kind of just like having some stuff going on, and then he then showed then that he transformed into like the evil violent Edward Hyde, yeah, yeah. And yeah, of course like he had a different appearance. He like had like some sharp teeth, and he had like a lot more hair. Yeah, basically just becoming just a deranged lunatic. Yeah. And then yeah, we're just like showing that he was like a lot more primitive looking and stuff. Just yeah, looking like really deranged, and yeah, he just really did like had like no boundaries or anything and stopping him. Yeah, and then yeah, he then like visited the music hall where Ivy performed and stuff, and then he just like was off trying to flirt with her and just offering to tend to her financial needs for her company, and he just ended up like manipulating her into accompanying him, and then he just like did it by just like terrorizing her and was like really violent. Yeah, and then yeah, he just kept like paying her visits to her boarding house, and then I mean, he was just like really terrorizing her all this time. Yeah, and yeah, he eventually then like found out that Muriel and her father would like return to London. Yeah, and then like before he actually left Ivy's home, he threatened her that he would be back. Yeah, and then after like Ivy was talking to her landlady, Mrs. Hawkins, about how Hyde, then like she just gave Ivy advice to see Dr. Jekyll about it. Yeah, and then just yeah, then after she was like explaining her situation about Mr. Hyde to Dr. Jekyll, oh yeah, of course like Dr. Jekyll knew that what he was causing, and he just like was really distraught about what he was really causing to Ivy, and then he just made a promise to her that she wouldn't have to worry about Mr. Hyde anymore. Or yeah, but then yeah, yeah, and like I said, like the way Jekyll just kept transforming into Hyde, just drinking his potion. Yeah, of course, like, and then Mr. Hyde would transform back into Jekyll by then drinking the potion again. But then, as Jekyll was then on his way to a party at Muriel's home to, for their return and the announcement of their new wedding date, then just Jekyll transformed back into Mr. Hyde again, just without the use of the potion. Yeah, he didn't drink it at all. He just like then just transformed into Hyde all of a sudden without any cause of it. Yeah, and then yeah, Mr. Hyde then appeared at Ivy again, and then he just then like was real. He then just like furious about how Ivy seeing Dr. Jekyll, and then he just revealed to Ivy that he and Dr. Jekyll are one and the same, and then he ended up killing Ivy. Yeah. And then just like everyone, well, like a lot of the other people in the yeah, a lot of other people in in Ivy's boarding house then just then like heard her screaming, and then they saw Mr. Hyde, and then they knew that he killed her, and then yeah, Hyde was then just making a break for it, and yeah, he was just ended up just running away for it, and yeah, he ended up like getting chased down. Yeah, and then eventually like Lanyon like ended up discovering that Mr. Hyde and Dr. Jekyll were also one and the same. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. And then yeah, after like Ivy was killed, like Sir Danvers was like just then was really like infuriated at Dr. Jekyll, and then yeah, he just then was like just forbidding Muriel from seeing him anymore, and then yeah, Dr. Jekyll then like with his life just really like out of control, really, he can't just continuing to spiral like that. He tried to like pay a visit to Muriel, but yeah, Sir Danvers was like rejecting him to visit, but Muriel welcomed him in. Yeah. And then just yeah, Jekyll wanted to really protect Muriel and not let her be killed by Mr. Hyde also, and so then he just ended up telling her that he couldn't be with her anymore and that they were done. Yeah. Yeah, and then as later on, as he was watching Muriel really distraught about him dumping her really, he then ended up transforming into Mr. Hyde again, and then he tried to attack Muriel again, but then like Sir Danvers and the butler then went after Hyde and just got her away from him, and then yeah, Mr. Hyde then ended up making a break for it again, and then he was also being chased by the police as well, along with Lanyon. Yeah, and eventually as he arrived back at home and then into his lab, he then drank the potion again and transformed back into Dr. Jekyll. Yeah. Yeah, and then yeah, eventually once they arrived in Jekyll's lab, then Lanyon then just ended up telling everyone that Jekyll was Mr. Hyde, and then yeah, then just showed then like Jekyll transforming again into Mr. Hyde in front of everyone, and then yeah, then just Mr. Hyde was then just fighting with everyone there. And then yeah, he then was trying to go after Lanyon again, and then he tried to escape from the police, but Lanyon ended up shooting and Hyde and killing him. And then yeah, it just showed then Hyde was just dead on the lab table, but then it showed he transformed back into Jekyll, but yeah, it also showed how Dr. Jekyll was dead too. And then yeah, it just ended like that. So yeah, so like I said, 3.25 stars out of 4. I mean, yeah, I guess it is a good movie, but yeah, I really don't think it is one of the better of these monster films. Just because, yeah, I feel there's just stuff going on is just kind of hard to follow. I mean, you may notice that I really didn't cover absolutely everything in this film, just because there's just a bunch of stuff going on in this film, and I think it's just really kind of a difficult thing to keep up with, because you have the stuff with Jekyll, Muriel and her father. You have him with Lanyon. You have Hyde and Ivy together, and yeah, you just have a bunch of stuff going on in this film. I think it's kind of hard to keep track of. So yeah, I'm sorry if I really didn't cover it as good as you were expecting, but yeah, it just was kind of hard to go over this because there's just a bunch of stuff happening in this film. It's kind of just hard to keep track of, but I still do think this is a pretty good film nonetheless. Alright, so yeah, that does it for my review of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, so yeah, and stay tuned as more monster movie reviews are coming. And so, yeah, but anyway, yeah, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.